Sears. We are the elementary math people for the district. So if you're needing anything to do with math, we are the two people to come to. All right, our goals today is we're going to be talking about the beliefs for teaching and learning math. So we'll construct a common understanding of that. Then we're going to be looking at some different instructional models that you might want to teach in your math block. And then we're going to hone in to one of those models, which is Math Workshop. Then from there, we're going to talk about the different elements of a math workshop. So your first activity is we're going to actually right away put you in breakout rooms. We're going to try for groups of 5. I don't know what Jen's going to be doing as she's working on right now to put them together. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at a Jamboard. And in that Jamboard, what we want you to do is look at the stickies and decide if this is a productive belief or an unproductive belief for that statement. And you're going to sort those cards based upon your discussion. You will only have 5 minutes in it. So this is really not to complete it. It's more just to get in there, kind of look at some beliefs, and then just have a great conversation for the little amount of time you have. Jen has put in for you the resource document. So if you'll notice in the resource document, I've put in 2 different card sorts. The first card sort is our main card sort, but since Jamboards only allow 40 people, we didn't know if all 40 of you could get it. If that's the case, maybe have one person open it up and then present for your group, or else if it's running way too slow, go to the second one for the copy for your group. But always have one person presenting out to your group so that you're all looking at the same thing. It just makes it better. All right, everyone. Hopefully I've talked enough so that Jen has had time to put you in breakout rooms. You have, I see by that smile she has. All right, everyone, we're gonna go ahead and send you off. You have 5 minutes to go in and then just start sorting. You may have to join one of the rooms if they don't come back.
All right, let me see if somebody is in there. Let me click in there and let them know.
All right, everyone, we're gonna go ahead and continue on. So
Lillian, I see, has raised her hand, but I'm gonna go in and join a group if Lillian has a quick question. Lillian, did you have a question?
I do have a quick question. I'm sorry, I'm new to Google Meets. I'm used to Zoom. And I see that when I minimize the screen that we're in, I can see the document that you've shared. Where can I find that document after our meeting has ended? Do I save that somewhere, or is it available to me somewhere?
The document, if you open it up in a separate tab, then you would have to save it into, like, do you have a Google Drive, or will you have a Google Drive?
Yes, I have a Google Drive.
Yeah, you can save that into a Google Drive, and then you can, I don't know, I created a folder of all of the different ones that I'm presenting at, and so I titled it under the title of that particular one that I wanted to save it, but it's up to you how you want to title it and save it.
Thank you. Yes, I'm doing that now. Thank you. I feel like I fear I missed the slide deck from our intro session today. So I wanted to ask about this. Thank you. That helped. That helps.
Welcome.
Also, we're trying to get up a brand new, I don't want to say website because it's just a piece of our website, which we're probably, a lot of this stuff will be going on there also. So it's not there yet, but be looking for it. All right. So
I think we have everyone back, hon.
All right, perfect. How did the language of the cards help you to place them in the different categories? So we're just going to do a whole group discussion. So if someone is actually willing to unmute themselves, great. Or in the chat, you could also put it in there. How did the language help you to sort them?
Hi.
Hello.
So in our group, we found that some of the language gave a lot of gray areas because there was really no absolute to it. So for instance, I think one of them saying to allow the student to struggle, and that's not entirely correct. You do want them to have a mind of their own and be working, with effort and rigor, but at the same time, you don't want them to be defeated and become discouraged to the point where they just don't want to learn, or they feel as though they're not capable. So we found a lot of gray areas in a lot of the stickies.
Yes, yes, it does have a lot of gray areas. Anything else about the language?
I feel like some of the language was targeted more for like teacher thinking, like not getting down on yourself as a result of maybe your students didn't understand something. So just blaming yourself and saying that they didn't learn anything, that's not really going to get you any further. That's what I would say is like unproductive, right? Like you're wanting to keep your own mindset that what do I need to do differently? Not necessarily I'm a failure, especially if you're a new teacher.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your candidness and willing to speak out. So with our activity, I'd like you to take 1 second and read this quote from the Principles to Action book.
More than a second, maybe 30.
So if you ever have a chance, this book, The Principles to Action, I know it's very, very tiny, but this is one of the best books out there right now for mathematics, for you to be really thinking about how to organize your classroom, how things you might want to be considering, thinking about. That is Jen and I's go-to tool. And just FYI, we're going to be doing a lot of trainings on this tool, for your thinking and stuff later on. So just be aware of that is coming. So I realized I put up the wrong picture here, I think, for the activity I had. We'll correct it on the resource document so that you have the one that we did, not this one. There was actually 2 different ones that we picked between, and I think I sent the Jamboard for the other one.
All right. I think I put it in there as the answers too. So hopefully it was the right one.
We'll fix it.
We'll correct it. All right. It's all right. It's a learning moment. You know, we all have these days, and you're going to have these days as you continue. We want you to now think back a little bit. And this prompt is also on your resource document. So we are going to be putting you into breakout rooms again to kind of discuss this. But think about some of your earliest moments in math instruction. What were some components that you enjoyed? And what were some components that maybe you perhaps struggled with? And we want you to have a conversation just kind of in your small groups and be thinking about, you know, what are some of those earliest memories? And how did you feel in that math instruction when you were going through it? Because we do know that we teach a lot of the way that we learned. And so we're trying to kind of shift some paradigms, some mindsets here, but we want you to kind of talk a little bit about some of those memories that you have in there. Tammy, do you have the breakout room set up from before, or do you need me to set them up?
Nope, we're ready.
All right, we're gonna give you 3 minutes, we said, to go in and have some quick discussion. I had it written on my slide as 3 minutes. Is it 5?
I thought it was 5.
All right, we'll give you 5 minutes. And again, your prompt is also on your resource document. All right, we still have a few in the main call. So have you guys gotten an invite to your breakout room? Lanika?
Lanika, and no, I don't see the link.
All right, I will fix that.
We will fix you.
Hmm.
Sorry about that.
That's weird. I have you in a group. You know what? If you could hover over the triangle, square, and circle and click on that and see if there is something in there that asks you to join a group.
So I'm logging on my phone and I don't see the triangle, square, and circle.
That might be the problem there.
You know what? Go ahead and click your tap on your phone. Does anything pop up when you tap on it?
It says recording. I see a mute button, a little full screen piece, which makes no sense because it's literally full screen on a phone. I Yeah, I don't see
Yeah.
breakout room, which doesn't make sense because the first one worked perfectly well. So
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
what we'll do then, let me find you. Let me see if I just put you in a different room, if it would prompt.
That's what I'm trying to see if it'll do. I'm playing with it too. Yep, there she goes.
Okay, good.
I have her in breakout room 1.
Okay.
Okay.
She's right though. When I've been on my Google Meet on my phone, it automatically just appears
Yeah.
and I just click on it. So I'm like, that was weird that it didn't allow her this last time.
So do I need to type in there what resonated with you in our thingy, in our chat?
Why would you put it in the chat? Because they're going to come back. You're going to give the instructions and they put it in there.
Okay. Are we doing this one as a waterfall? I can't remember.
Yes, we had originally said to do it. No, actually, because the next one asks them to read over the responses.
Okay.
The
And
waterfall
respond to
chat
them.
takes too long.
I agree. All right.
So I would say no.
So that must be what must be what I had 3 minutes for, because I'm looking at that one.
Yeah, all breakout rooms are 5 minutes.
Okay, that's what I thought. It's 3 minutes I have in the whole group discussion. That's where I was like, I had that next one pulled up, so makes sense. You're going to hear lots of wonderful things
From us. We are the bomb diggity. All right. Yeah, I'm almost positive. I just realized I think I gave them the wrong, different. It's the same thing, but it has different. It has quotes on it versus.
Oh,
what
gotcha.
So I realized, oh, I gave them the wrong one. Oh well, it's okay. We just need to fix the answer somehow. I'll have to find the answer, and then we can just change it.
Let's take a look and see. I want to just double check. So I have, yeah, most of them have 4 to 5 in there. So that's good. They're having a healthy discussion. And they're coming in 30 seconds. Let me go ahead and click that so I can see what they're popping into the chat.
Yeah. Remember, you're done at 9:45.
Oh, okay.
Just that to help us keep on time.
Okay. Thank you. Because I will be like, because I'm now going into.
Yeah, because you have to go into and talk about all that.
Gotcha. And they're coming back. Hope you guys had some really healthy discussions in your groups. I'm going to wait just a couple more seconds to get a few more folks in. We're about halfway in our numbers. They're popping in steadily though. I think really the opportunity, the more that you can have discussions with your peers, and students are the same way, the more you learn. And the reflection is in the learning. The learning is the reflection, so to speak. So definitely something that you also want to incorporate when you're working with your classrooms. All right, I think we've got just about everybody back in. Maybe one more group is on their way, but we're up to 26. And I want you to take a look at the prompt on the screen. So in the chat, we would like you to go ahead and add what resonated with you from your discussion, and think about what is one thing that you wished was different in your math learning, and would you plop that into the chat for us? So what resonated in that conversation, and what is one thing you wish was different in your math learning? And as we're reading over the responses, we want you to also respond to one person back in the chat. This is called a chat review. Nobody had anything they would change different
You
from their
gotta
math?
let them type it.
I was thinking one thing, like long math assignments, yeah. Different perspectives on math curriculums, more hands-on, absolutely. I'm thinking about the sitting in the rows, that my teacher did most of the talking. I didn't have time for manipulatives, you know, you didn't get those kinds of things, especially once you moved up in your math. So definitely some of those things that you're talking about. Not fearing math, Isabel, definitely. Could you expand on that, Isabel? I'm just, you know, because I think that has been something that we've had to grapple with in terms of mindset, is changing folks' mindset around mathematics, specifically that they'll either say, our students will say, and I hear adults say this too, that I'm just not a math person. So tell us a little bit about, like, what was that fear that you experienced when you were in elementary?
When I was in elementary school, my teachers, I don't know if it was where I was, but they all kind of made math hard and even said, like, math is hard and you're going to have to pay attention to understand it at the end. And I never felt like I really understood it. And I always had this idea, math is the hardest, math is the worst. And if you ask a lot of people, they say, oh yeah, I hate math, I hate math. But then as I got older and kind of started to, you know, make my own opinions and kind of learn from other new teachers that math isn't that bad. And that's also part of the reason why I did join this session particularly, because I do want my future students to not want to hate math or fear it like I had. So that's why it was a big thing for me.
Yes, I think I love that. Yeah, and Lily and I see is clapping and giving lots of hands and support. So yeah, definitely. That is something that, like, we want to, like I said, change sort of make a paradigm shift in the way that we're thinking about math and how we're teaching math. So I do appreciate it. And thank you those who are reading through those comments, and those who are sharing and participating with us. Definitely appreciate your opinions on that as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit about different instructional models that you could use in math. The first one, if you're familiar with the Boucher sisters that do the daily day, they also do a daily 5. They have a daily 3 math. So that daily 3 math is, and I don't know if somebody else is not on mute, because there's sort of
Somebody's unmuted. I can't really hear you.
No worries. So the very first one that is similar to the daily 5. It's from the Boucher sisters. They have a daily 3 math. The daily 3 that they're talking about is math by myself, math writing, and math with someone. And so if you're looking at math by myself, those are usually games, some kind of exploration and some type of independent work that the students might be doing. And then you have math writing, that could be fact practice. It could be doing, you know, something like a KWL. What do you know? What do you want to know? It could also be vocabulary, or maybe you have a daily math message. And then you have the math with someone, which is like a guided math mini lesson or a math talk with the teacher. Or perhaps with someone could be working with other students, counting a collection, solving an open response problem. The second one is called a 2-group model. So a 2-group model is when you have a small group that's working with the teacher, and then you have the rest of the students that are at work independently, maybe working through or doing different things. Could be stations, could be like math journals, could be anything that the students are doing, but you have sort of a little guided group math group that works with the teacher. That's similar to the weekly rotation. That's learning stations, where the teacher meets up with multiple groups throughout the week, and each day they might be at a different math station. And then you have sort of the whole group approach, which might be what you kind of may have all experienced when you were younger. And that's kind of where they launch a lesson, and this is like the whole group staying together. They may launch a lesson by a particular concept or thought. They're going to explore or dive deeper into that concept, and then they're going to have like a summary. So they're going to come back, they're going to talk about it, they're going to have some reflection time to think about that in the learning.
Jen, how do you spell the Bouchard sisters? I don't know how to spell it.
It Bouchard, Bouchard. But if you just type in daily 3 math, I can probably, even if you want me to add that on a resource document, I will be happy to actually add that to you. And there's resources that you can look up right away for that. But it's very similar to the daily 5. You just are doing different activities with it. All right. Let's see. So this is, again, you know, Tammy and I like to kind of like bridge our gaps or bridge our little sections with little quotes in here. And I want you guys to take a second and read this quote by Lillian Katz. And I think what really resonates to me is that not one approach is the right approach. And so you have to think about all the time, how are you approaching, how are you looking at your math instruction in order to hit all different aspects of your students? Because you're going to have students that already know it. You're going to have students that don't get it. Like we heard from our friend earlier, Isabel, that said she just didn't get it and didn't know how to kind of move on from it. And then you're going to have 1/3 of your kids that are just gonna like trying to be muddling through and getting it. So we really need to think about that and be conscious in our math teaching. All right, so some of the things that we want you to kind of just be mindful of when we're thinking of setting up your guided math groups is there are certain benefits to having math groups for teachers and for students. If we're talking about teachers, you can see that you can get a lot more differentiation. There's a lot more targeted teacher. You can specifically hone in on students. There's also on-the-spot error analysis. You can catch those misconceptions right away when they're coming up if you're also listening and thinking about your students' thinking. You're going to have the opportunity to question them deeply. You're also going to be able to focus on specific content and practices. And remember, our math practices, our mathematical practices, are sort of the how our students are going to be accessing that math. So we need to be cognizant about those specific practices that are also there. It also helps you use more time efficiently. When we're looking on the flip side with our students, those targeted standards can be specific to like whatever the main focus standards are of our particular grade. And we can target those standards to actually help our students learn that content a lot more deeply. They're going to get some more individualized attention. That's also a great benefit of having these guided math groups. The opportunity to speak and listen about mathematical thinking. And I think you're going to realize that just as you guys were listening more to your peers, your students are going to listen to more to their peers about the ways and the strategies to do it. They may not always do it the teacher's way, but they'll remember that, I'm doing it the way that Lillian told me to do it. I remember Lillian's way because she talked about it being really kind of a cool way, So they'll remember those things more so than they may not remember how you did it or you modeled it in a specific way. Mathematical disposition levels increase. And that just means like that discussion, that openness, that thinking towards math definitely increases. And also you're going to have more movement through activities. And as we know with young children, movement is very important. And we're going to need that information. We're going to need our students to be able to do that in order to engage in that mathematics. All right, so we wanted to share with you a particular book that we kind of got some of these structures for, and that is this math workshop. So if you're interested in looking at that, it is by Jennifer Lemp, and the Lemp is L-E-M-P-P. And she talks about 3 different types of structures: the task and share, the focus lesson guided math and learning station, and then guided math and learning stations. And I'm going to go through really quickly Hopefully we'll have some time to kind of think about and share, and we can always share this information with you guys as well. The task and share is a structure that engages students in a math task. The teacher is going to purposely select a problem-solving task, typically, usually a word problem, could be one of those open response type problems. And then when they present it, they're careful not to give too much away. They're going to have the students be able to really grapple with this task and try and make sense of it and make sense of what is being asked. That mathematical practice 1 is making sense of it and, trying to figure out like how you're going to problem solve through it. That's really, really kind of giving the students the opportunity to grapple with that. It's very different from your traditional one. You're not modeling how to solve it. The teacher is really just kind of like I said, letting the students grapple with it. They're not identifying any particular strategies or operations. They're really letting the students try to take the time to make sense of it. Your role in this as a teacher is really as a facilitator. And while the students are working on the task, you're walking around, you're monitoring their work, you're asking questions to see if you can help students and support them. Maybe they're stuck, or maybe they just need a little clarification. And the big part is usually the last 25 minutes of the lesson is going to be reserved for that student reflection, in which you're going to invite students to kind of share their work in a systematic way. So you have a plan of almost how you're going to share their thinking. Maybe you'll start with the way that most of the students did it. Maybe you'll highlight a particular misconception that just needs one little tweak. Maybe you're going to present something that's done in a different way so that you can support those connections among all of their strategies. So when you want to use this is usually when you're introducing a new unit, or if you're going to be doing this numerous times, you can do this numerous times also throughout the unit. All right. And I said I'd be going through this quick. If you have any questions, Tammy's also monitoring the chat. Please feel free to plop those in there. All right, the second one is called a focus lesson guided math and learning stations. In this, students are engaging in that focus lesson, that mini lesson. The teacher is going to really think about, thoughtfully and purposely facilitate that focus lesson. We want to limit this particular lesson to less than 15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes or less, in order to ensure that it remains focused and specific. Like we're not just droning on about this particular subject, because as we kind of saw, some students are going to get it, some students are going to be left out, and some students already know it. So then we want to follow that focus lesson up with students either collaborating within a learning station or meeting with their teacher in a guided math group. We always want to also conclude everything with that reflection. The reflection is in the learning, okay? That's where we want to have that. When you might want to use this is introducing a new topic in math, or also when you're introducing a new learning station. All right, let's go to the very last one, and then I'm going to hand it over to my partner, which I've already gone over. All right, so the guided math and learning stations. So this is where you immediately jump into those learning stations and or guided math groups. The focus lesson still occurs, but it's within the math group, within the guided math group. We always, again, conclude with a group reflection. A nice time to use this is when in a whole class focus lesson, if you've already worked on a particular math topic, like let's say from before we introduce this to the whole class. And as a teacher, you don't want to maybe necessarily share this again with the whole group. You're really interested in reaching those students that had difficulty getting it the first time, or maybe have just a little misconception, and you need to hear their thinking as far as with regard to that topic. The other thing is maybe you have a specific thing showing up in your data that's showing that maybe you have a small portion of students that are still grappling with this particular subject. You gave a pretest and you see that your students are not able to maybe identify something specifically, but that's where you want to have that time to specifically target that focus lesson within that guided math group. Make sense?
That was a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm trying to answer the last question.
All right.
So I started typing, but the district curriculum for APS is Stepsstones. What we're describing to you can be used with any curriculum, knowing that you're not going to meet the way they meet the needs of all kids if you just sat and did whole group instruction all the time. That's why we're bringing in different ways that you can look at it. Yes, whole group sometimes is the way to go. However, it should never always be the way to go. So that's why we are giving you other things that you should also be thinking about as you're looking at this. So my piece right now is about the elements of a math lesson. In math workshop, which is just one way, like some of you seemed a little interested in Daily 3, that's another model of how you could teach your curriculum. They have different elements that you should be thinking of. The first one is a number sense, and the number sense routine is a interactive, engaged way for kids to be thinking about different strategies, different ways to do things. A good one that we have done before is which one doesn't belong. If you Google just that term, which one doesn't belong, you get a grid, four quadrants, and each quadrant is one way for students to look at a math. And they have to decide which one doesn't belong and why that one wouldn't belong. And all the answers are correct. That's why I like about which one doesn't belong is all the answers are correct. Another one.
Accessible.
Mhm.
It's
Another one-
accessible to anybody.
Yeah, low floor, high ceiling tasks. That's kind of what a number sense routine is. Another good one is a number talk. I know a lot of elementary teachers, that's their go-to, which is one of the best ones, because what happens is you can say 20 plus 15 and have the kids work out what different strategies could they use to solve that. So you're working on that fluency piece as well as the comprehension piece, and kids aren't stuck with their feet, just their fingers. Fingers are okay in some instances, and others, they got to have other ways to solve it and not just be stuck on one. So those are some examples of a number sense routine. Those are normally done at the very beginning of a lesson. The math task, I know Jennifer had really kind of talked about that. Again, this is another one where you have, normally a lot of people like to do what we call the old term word problems. And really it's a task has to be something that the kids can enter it multiple ways to try to solve it. It's not one that I said, you have to use this formula. That's not what we're talking about when we say math task. And normally on a math task, they're working on maybe 1 or 2 problems the whole period. Math block. You can tell my mind frame sometimes is middle school. So we're talking in the 60 minutes, they're working for 20 to 30 minutes on one problem. And then we're discussing that problem in whole group, really trying to find out all the different ways they could solve it, all the different strategies. A focus lesson is a mini lesson. So we're not talking what we're used to as a lesson where the teacher gets up and talks for 20, 30 minutes, and then you're off doing some practice problems based upon what they did. A focus lesson is really like 5-10 minutes where I'm hitting in and really talking about certain points I want the kids to focus in on. Now that can be done whole group, or it could be done in small groups where you're having kids in centers or in that guided math to do that. Now, the guided math is done 2 ways. The first way is you can do your focus lesson in the guided math. The guided math is with you. You are working with a small group of students. The other one, and that's where the differentiated piece comes in, is where you're having them in those learning stations and you are focusing in on, say, these 3 kiddos really, really cannot count backwards. So we're going to work on an element of having them count backwards so they can really help with their subtraction. That would be 2 ideas that you could do in a guided math. And then learning stations, I alluded to this several times, but in learning stations, it could be something where you have 5 different groups all working on different things. One group is working on on an online math program, iReady. Another group is with you, that's the guided math. Another group is working on playing some math games together. Another group is working on their Stepsstones journal and being able to talk together and work through those problems. And a 5th group may be doing something else. I hadn't actually planned out a 5th group in my mind.
How about reading a book about math and solving a problem?
There we go, the scoop problem. Do you remember the name of the scoop book? I loved that book. Okay, but maybe they are reading a book and they're trying to work through whatever problem the math book gives them, the illustrated math book. So we're talking literature. And the last but not least is one that's left out most times. that this one has to stay in is the student reflections. That's that last 5-10 minutes of the class where you're having kids write about math. If they're younger, it could be where they're just putting problems or drawing pictures. When they're getting older, they're actually writing complete sentences. 5th graders, yeah, when we get them to mid school, we want them to be able to write a couple sentences about what they learned today, or what stood out to them, or what strategy Jennifer did that I really, really liked. So that's the piece that we want to have in there. It can also be done whole group, but you also want to bring it in together where they're individually doing something, writing something, so that they mesh it in their brain. Okay, Jen in the resource document has put in for use a resource, and it's just a PDF of this slide. And you'll notice that what we have done is we have actually set it up so you could see how the different ones that I talked about and Jennifer talked about, the task and so kind of how you would run your math block, your 60 minutes. So you would start with a number sense routine. Then you go to your task, and then you would task share whole group, and then do student reflections as well. Your focus lesson, you notice everything starts with a number sense routine. You notice what we're hitting hard on, number sense routine, number sense routine. This one does the focus lesson whole group, then you do the guided math and learning stations and student reflection. The guided math and learning stations, maybe you are working on a unit and you have noticed that kids really, some kids are really excelling on their addition of double facts and others are not. And you're wanting to maybe work with the small groups on helping them, and then on the other groups pushing their thinking. So you would do this with a guided math and learning stations with a student reflection. Now, everyone always asks, what's the times? What's the times? Here's a good way for you to think about your times. A number sense routine is 5 to 10 minutes tops. If you are running it and it's going longer than that, you need to reflect back on what you're doing and what specific strategies you might want to pinpoint with the students, so that you're pulling out those strategies. And then you can see 30 minutes for a math task, and then the math share. That's really when you're really focusing again on strategies. That's why that reflection time takes 20 to 25 minutes, where most times it's only 5 to 10 minutes. So that's a good idea for you to think about your time. All right. Sorry, looking at time. Jennifer is going to start a Google poll. So we have given you a lot of information. If you haven't noticed, I said the most important thing probably for you is a number sense routine. So we're going to ask you, we have a slew. Okay, the math, the first one is, I'll get the second one on there with the times for you on the resource document, or Jennifer. What I would like you to do is think about, of these 5 number sense routines that we have put on for you. Let me actually look at them so I can describe all of them to you. We talked about a number talk. We talked about which one doesn't belong. My favorite no is where you guys put up a problem on the board. All the kids answer the problem on index cards, and then you collect them, and then you look for them for incorrect, correct. If it's correct, it goes in the yes pile. If it's no, it goes in the no pile. Once you've gotten all your no's, you flip through them really fast to find one that is your favorite no. Normally, it's a common misconception where the students normally get stuck. And you, in your own handwriting, write that one out. And what you do from there is you have the kids describe what is correct about the work, and then what is incorrect about the work, and how could we help this student solve this problem. That's my favorite no. The 3-act task is very big with Dan Meyer. And I think a lot of people have been doing it for younger grades as well. And what it is you have a video of something you're doing, like balancing a scale. And what you do is show a small clip, and then you start asking questions. What do we know? What do we don't know? What do we wonder? Kind of thing. And then you show a second clip, and then you ask what could the math question be? And then you show a third clip, and by that, hopefully they'll be able to find the answer to the problem. Open middle is also another one where you're given 9 digits, 1 through 9, and you're told, I have a two-digit number multiplied by a 3-digit number, and what could I do here to get that answer? So, and we can only use those 1 through 9 3 times. So it's an example of where it's very open, and but the kids have to problem solve to try to answer a 2-digit by 3-digit multiplied by a 3-digit. that's an example. So I can see that we have, Jennifer has opened that. I've gone over everyone. And then I'd like you to go ahead and vote. Which one do you think will give us the most bang for the buck?
And Tammy, I should also say we should have a shameless plug here that we will be offering these live sessions of how to do these and present these. If you would like to attend, there is going to be all of them on August the 10th, and we can, I believe, do we have that information on our
Resource document at the very bottom. And we're very aware that your schools may have something for you to do on August 10th, like say it's your teacher workday and you're not able to attend. Be cognizant we're going to have more coming starting in September. We're not allowed to do any PD in August unless it's requested. So we would go on to September, and we'll make sure there's more in there.
May I also say that there will be, somebody asked, I think it was Sally, that asked about where to find these ones for which one doesn't belong, or any of these number sense routines. And after each one of those sessions that we do live, we offer some examples of make and takes that you can just take and use the next day in your classroom with. So taking the thinking out of it, we'll have them accessible to grade. We might have accessible to a content, but we will have those available. So shameless plug, please attend those.
So hopefully you're starting to see the answers from what people have put in there. From what I'm gathering, it looks like which one doesn't belong is getting the majority, but not far behind is number talk and my favorite no. I know that a lot of upper elementary loves my favorite no, and I know that actually K-12 number talk can be used. Which one doesn't belong? We have some Jen and I have examples of kindergarten all the way up to 5th, but it can be used all the way through 12th grade as well. Almost all of these can be used K-12 depending on the problem you pick. All right, guys.
All right. Now, I don't know how much time we're going to have, and we really want to spend that time having you guys have an opportunity to think about your mathematics classroom culture. So one of the things that they do describe in this book is they talk about 3 buckets. So you do have this reading on your resource document, and we're going to ask that we're going to go ahead and go silent for about 5 minutes. We're going to ask you to read that excerpts about the 3 buckets. The 3 buckets that are mentioned there are classroom arrangement, routines and procedures, which, as we know, we've heard from those behavior folks this morning, routines and procedures are extremely important for building that community, mathematics community, as well as community inside your classroom. And then mathematics community. All right, so we're going to, again, go silent for about 5 minutes. You guys should have this on your resource document. It is under the link that says 3 buckets. We want you to have an opportunity to read that. And if we have some times, we'll put you in some groups to kind of talk about like what might have resonated with you in that. But I think we're going to start with, let's read that and listen, be thinking about how you could utilize these in your classroom. All right, so hopefully you had an opportunity to kind of read a little bit about those separate buckets, and think about the fact that if even one of those buckets is empty, you are not establishing that community. You're not building that culture within there. I would have liked to have talked a little bit about it, but I know you guys are probably thinking about getting to your next session, and I want to have Tammy have an opportunity to talk about what upcoming PD opportunities we have, and then offer a little time if you have any questions.
All right, these are just some upcoming ones that we have. The first 4 or 5 are all happening the first week you're back. So there is some of those. Some of these, like this one and the tier 2 that we're offering next time, is going to be offered on August 9th and August 2nd, depending on if you're an early start, not an early start. Jennifer and I will be starting mathematical communities that are going to be happening monthly. We were looking at like the 3rd Thursday of the month to maybe start doing those, where it would be, you would come the very first time, we would talk about what are you guys wanting to know about, and we would collect that, and from there start working on what you guys are interested in knowing about, and or problems that you have been that we can help you work through. So we're going to be doing those mathematically communities in your resource document. We also have the link that's been sent out over and over again, but it also of what upcoming PDs are. But we wanted to give that to you again. I think everyone's going to give it to you, but it's there just in case. And that's it for us. We want to give you a few minutes to get to your next session. Again, there's our emails, jennifer.sears@aps.edu and gaudette_t@aps.edu. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you joining us. Have a great day.
And if you have any questions, we'll be on for just a few moments. So if you have any questions or you want to get some more information, please ask us. We're happy to help.
Clara?
Raise a hand, Clara. And then Nicole. I'm not sure who's popping in first. Claire, I don't know if you're having trouble unmuting. Did you have a question? Or they probably did what I did, which was try to turn it off and then hit the hand instead. I've done that too.
I just wanted to say hi to Tammy. I believe you were my middle school at Truman teacher for math. So,
Oh
and
my gosh.
yeah, I don't know if you remember me, but Francesca. Yeah.
Well, I was like, you do not look familiar, but then in my mind, it's probably something from way back when. But it's so nice to see you.
Yeah, I recognize you for sure.
Oh, was I Werner or Gaudette at that time?
I think you were Gaudette at that time. You also had a student teacher